What is up, everybody? This is Silver Spook, and this is the video about the United States united by the healthcare CEOs. Um, the healthcare CEOs server. Let's say server. That's a good word, right? So the U.S. is now officially, at long last, a more perfect union has been created. um, Uncle Sam rejoices as the all of the Floridians, Californians, uh, definitely New Yorkers, you know, um, Washingtonians, all of the people from Georgia, from which the UHC server apparently might be from. If you believe NYPD, I don't know. All of the Georgians, the Mississippians, and the Ohioans, all the potatoes in Idaho, all the all the New Mexicans in New Mexico, all of the gun having Texans in Texas, and um all the wind blown Chicagoans in Illinois, all the gritty meme posters from Pennsylvania are all united finally. At long last, unity is achieved. After 200 and after 240, 50, whatever years it is, the United States is finally united. Um, what's up, Victor? We cheering for our our friends from Spain, our friends from the across the Atlantic, across the pond, are cheering for the Americans in the United States finally uniting. Um, the the pistol firing mountains of dank UHC memes above the fruited plain. America, America. Um, America, America. Second Amendment has shed its grace on thee. Finally, the Second Amendment has been used, in a way that has actually you could arguably say it has resisted tyranny. You could argue that the ostensible purpose of the right to bear arms, right, has actually for the first time in its existence been utilized for something arguably good. Maybe people will argue not, but that's one thing that's like kind of amazing if you really think about it, right? There's 120 guns for every 100 Americans in the United States. How many? How many times has that been used in a way that has been mass supported? How many times have over the 250 years or 200? I forget the exact number. 1776. 248 years. How many times has the Second Amendment? How many times has the guns that are supposed to be the right of Americans to have been used in a way that the masses, including like I've seen many African Americans or African people in the U.S. We've seen like people of all colors in the United States saying that almost unanimously approve. It's 9-10 ratio. How many times has these arms been used in a way? These guns been used in a way that is actually to the benefit of and to the approval and support of everyone. I can't really think of any other. Like, so there are some where people would approve of it. Well, I take that back. There have been some actions that have been mass supported, but very, 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 very rarely. Certainly not in the last time the last time there was a high profile, um, really really high profile, successful shooting. I should say, profile successful. Serving. Let's put. I'm trying not to get the thing censored, obviously. Was what John F. Kennedy, mid 20th century, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. When was the last time, right? But who was pulling that trigger? What was written on those shells, right? There's three letters, right? It wasn't what is it? Defend, deny, depose, right? I forget the exact three words that were written on the shells of the bullets fired, right? But the three letters on JFK's bullets were a C and then an I and then an A. It was ruling class. It was Martin Luther King. Why was he again high profile public unaliving, right, with guns? Why because Martin Luther King stood against what, right? The big dollar uncle, the god dollar, the god war, and the god racism, obviously, all the three, the triumvirate of evil. And so that was not something that was a public unaliving with guns for like the tiny minority of greedy, nasty people, right? Who are on the side of Brian Thompson, the CEO. They're on the CEO side. One way to think about it is the CEO's side has been doing the public SHOOTINGs for the last long time. I'm just trying to think. I mean, maybe there's probably some other stats, but it's been the guns have been used, right? The Second Amendment, right to bear arms, has been used not to stop unjustness, tyranny. I mean, or Kyle Rittenhouse, right? What was Kyle Rittenhouse about? That was on the side of who, right? That was on the side of, not the good side, the opposite side of Martin Luther King, right? That was sided with the, with the cops, was defended by them, who work for, big money interests in the United States generally, and so that was another public, right? Unaliving. There was, obviously there's many been, under Black Lives Matter. There's been several, Ahmaud Arbery, Trayvon Martin, right? But those are again, the guns are facing from the racists using the guns against, oppressed, racialized minorities. JFK, etc. Oh, I just thought of the Boeing whistleblowers, right? I'm pretty sure it was guns, right? Those are pistol unalivings. Two Boeing whistleblowers. Who was that? That was the CEO's side, right? The wrong side, attacking people trying to stop corporate greed and corporate malfeasance, right? That's the same thing as what's involved in this event, right? But that was the wrong side shooting and using the guns against people trying to stop horrible things, right? Like planes, Boeing 737s being improperly built in that case, and then causing crashes, harm, damage, death. So this is so my point, that is that this is like the first, or what like there has been other things that have happened. I'm gonna probably get into later in the stream. I gotta go pull the details up if I can find it. But somebody pointed out in the last week that there has actually been, what's up, McLovin? I'd like to buy a vowel. Yeah, you need two vowels and a consonant, I think, to complete that one. The mass scooter. Yeah, the United Healthcare CEO, Scooter. That's what he is. He used a city bike he used the city bike. We all know that because we trust the United States police, extremely competent boys in blue, that definitely know what they're doing when they show three separate pictures of three completely different individuals and report them all to be the UHC scooter. Um, the person, not the bike. Now it's gonna get confusing. The U.S. the CEO server and his with his bike, his hoodie. Today I gotta slow down. We're gonna get to it. There's a contest for the best, most accurate UHC unaliver lookalike contest. That was fun. I'm kind of not even joking. Like, this might be one of the most celebrated folk heroes in the U.S. history at this point. But the what was I saying before? Yeah. So, but there was actually at least one other that I know of, high profile. No, not high profile, but there's at least one other healthcare CEO who was unalived was removed from the earth. Was his soul was separated from his physical body. With gun involved. Let's report on it like it's the BBC talking about the Middle East. With gun involved explosion causes the bodily discorporation of individual, like, just like completely, like, who knows where and what happened there. We don't know. Anyway, but there has been at least one other CEO. I believe it was of a very wealthy healthcare CEO who had a big mansion, like, very wealthy person in California. I believe it was last August. And he was apparently taken out by his own security guard. And the family of this person, let me see if I can pull that one up. The New Yorker is worried about the guillotines, the gun-shaped guillotines coming out. Let's see, but I'm gonna try quickly to find it. So I can't find it in the next little bit. I'm gonna have to move on, but I'm gonna see. But yeah, so apparently there was another person that was unalived in the California. Okay. Okay. Okay, no. Okay, I might not be able. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, I gotta go back and look for it. Not right now. Oh yeah, that's fine. So, but apparently there was at least one other CEO who was executed in August of 2023. It was a comment on the UHC story, and somebody said this has actually happened before. But it was not. It was the security guard of the CEO who was watching the premises. And I was thinking, or what it was either like personally guarding him, but I think he was a security guard, personal security at his house. So, like, at his mansion, right? So you have this huge palatial, like in like Iron Man's Batcave, right, on the side of a hill. There's actually this movie that came out that actually is like that, where it's actually it's actually a horror movie. I can't remember what the name of that is. There's this movie that there was a movie about a healthcare CEO, not that one. with the two squatters that are living in the house. Um, was it squatters? No. Um, what was that movie? Oh, is it Black Mold? No. Um, okay, I'm not gonna be able to find it. I gotta stop playing these games. Um. Anyways, so but yeah, there was a movie that came out like about 2 years ago, or in the last 2 years, that was about a healthcare CEO. He is specifically invested in healthcare, but he is secretly doing like these. It's a horror movie, so he's doing like these heinous experiments, where he like uses uh, some kind of horrible torment nexus technology, where if you go, you put you in this room that like blasts some kind of radiation or energy waves at you that rapidly causes you to get cancer. So you develop cancer in like 2 hours, like just massive tumors everywhere. And he's using that to test out cancer, to explore and work on cancer. But he's like kidnapping people and like giving them cancer to develop medications and treatments, or treatment, not cures, but treatments. So, but this horrible healthcare CEO, he is unalived by his own staff, right? And so, and throughout the movie, like the staff hate him. Like they're squatters they are servers at his you know millionaire and billionaire super fancy get-togethers at his palatial mansion, right? And these poor young people who are like they're working like three jobs, right? Like they're driving Uber, they're like delivering Amazon packages, right? And then one of their jobs is like serving, caviar and like emu eggs Benedicts, and fancy gold leaf burgers to ultra rich a-holes, right, at this billionaire's party. And they're talking about these people, right? Because the staff, they're working for money because they need money to pay their healthcare bills, to pay their housing and all their basic needs, right? But they hate, they despise, right? They're just average people. They're like talking they're talking about, what do you think she's thinking, right? Oh, he's just thinking about how he's gonna get into her pants and take off her $1 million gown, and then they're probably gonna go to Bangkok, and then they're gonna go start a war in Afghanistan, and but the help are like insulting, right? These are like the people that are directly employed by this. This includes the security, the janitors, right? The maids, the servers, the cooks. They're just like, right? Like Parasite is another movie, right? That was a South Korean movie. That kind of deals with that as well, but it's not. It doesn't really. I mean, the anger of the commoners under a neo-feudal capitalist system, or the anger of the workers, is also brought up there. But it's like, I feel like it's getting more intense. Like it always was there, but it's really really intensifying now. And with that movie, it's just like, I hate all these people, and I would, the reality is like that's always been there. And Holly and I were talking about it. It's like every action movie, right? We just watched The Crow. What happens in that? A horrible rich guy gets killed, gets unalived by the action hero, right? What is, John Wick? What happens? Some horrible rich guy gets unalived by the end. That's masterminding this. After fighting through 10,000 people with, Hong Kong woo-tastic gun stunts and martial arts. Then eventually you get to some horrible rich guy, often a CEO, and he's unalived. What happened in, like, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, RoboCop, Michael Keaton, head of some horrible giant Detroit-based company selling military robots, right, and industrial death dealers, and screwing with people's minds and trying to make the perfect cop to beat up on protesters, workers, and strikers, and throw people out of their apartments for landlords. And what happens at the end of that? RoboCop uses his right to bear arms and unalives a CEO. This actually happens all the time. This is like the plot. This is like the story for like most comic book books, action movies, right? That's usually what it is, because everybody knows who it is. Everybody knows who is the problem, right? And it's not immigrants. It's not, this particular ethnic minority or that religion. It's not. Everybody knows it's not like, those people that are on the, the food stamps, or it's not this particular middle manager. Although of course you don't like them, you don't like your boss, but the real problem is the people at the top of that ladder, and they always get unalived by the end of everything, right? Every American kind of knows that, right? Every American knows that. Somewhere they know you're the hyper, the hyper power defender of the global horrible system, right? That's the capitalist system that uses imperialism worldwide to maintain itself and maximally benefit. But everybody knows that. That's why all these movies always have that, right? Everything that actually, right? But the difference now is that somebody's actually acted on that, right? Somebody's actually acted on what, like the Leonard Cohen song, everybody knows. Everybody knows we're working for the man, we're working in the system, even though they don't always say what the system is, but you don't need to know what exactly the system is. Because your boss and your boss's boss, and at the top of that ladder is a handful of super rich people, mostly dudes from a particular place, right? And they call all the shots. They deny all your claims. They say that your 5-year-old can't get the cancer medication. They can't. They're not going to give you anesthesia halfway through their quadruple bypass. They're going to cut your anesthesia off, right? Everybody knows that. Everybody has known that, but now somebody's acted on what everybody knows, and so that's like actually I think it's and people have acted, but like this is a qualitative. I feel like this is a qualitative shift of a kind, because it's high profile. Even conservatives, like there was a Ben Shapiro. Let me see if I can find that one. I'm definitely gonna succeed at the game called Silver Spook. Find Silver Spooks Twitter posts / articles this time. Here we go. Even self-described American conservatives, right, reacting to the creepazoid Ben Shapiro, the evil. He had made this video called "The Evil Revolutionary Left Cheers Murder," and woke up to see this spammed in my group chats. CEO down with the happy smiling star, right? And Ben, this is it's right wing conservative, right? It's Republican, edge of the U.S. spectrum, and all the comments are like, to claim that it's just the American left has been cheering this on social media is delusional. I don't know, Ben. I don't know why you're trying to keep pushing this as a left issue. It is clearly across the board. So this is somebody who they don't identify as left in the context of the United States. Sorry, Ben, lifelong conservative, don't have an ounce of sympathy for the CEO. How many Americans have died because of his company's greed? Healthcare shouldn't be I think they're probably saying healthcare should be a right. This isn't a party-based issue. This is a class-based issue. I don't like violence, but let's not pretend that the insurance companies haven't been committing systemic class, right? Who is going to tell Ben? Not just the left. Embarrassing. Ben Shapiro, you embarrass yourself putting it all on the left. Deny, depose, defend. We don't recognize him. Sorry, Ben. It's not just anyway. So long story short, it literally is like uniting the United States. I was talking about within the context of the United States. It is something that is I'm not saying that everybody has to go, okay, we have to go hug all the conservatives, something like that, but it is something that people are recognizing is shared across the board. Um, like here's some footage of the Washington Washington Square Park shooter lookalike. Like this should be the Macy's Day Parade. The Macy's Day Parade should be everyone dresses up in the UHC scooter costume. I got mine already. I got the silencer. I got my city bike. You know, I have my three different kinds of backpack. I have three different kinds of hoodie because NYPD says it's like three completely different. Some have pockets, some don't have pockets. So I have my mighty morphing plutocrat unaliver costume that just changes hoodie, different glasses every time. So that should be the Macy's Day. Like this should replace July 4th should be the day where everybody remembers, right? When ultra rich CEOs got whacked. You know, that's what you bring America together. I'm kind of half not even joking about that. Well, these people are not joking either. Well, that's actually separate. Actually, that is related. We'll come back to that though later on. But yeah, so you know, this is something, right? So that there you have mass numbers of people that you know, again, it's like what people self-identify as that. You know, that's you know that anyway, let me move on. I lost my link. There it is. Okay. Anyways, so my point is that, like, yeah, so many people are coming together. There have been so many memes. There have been so many posts. It's just been, especially right after in the last 2 days, all I could see on multiple platforms, corporate media is trying to not talk about it, and then they're forced to talk about it. But from like the people's media, let's put it that way, the masses, not the mass corporate media, but the masses, that you know, at least the ones I can see, it's been like it was on the CEO's, remember, on the CEO's post, his last LinkedIn post, or it was one of the corporate posts saying our thoughts and prayers and our heart goes out to Brian Thompson, you know, recently deceased CEO of United Healthcare. And like 9 times out of 10, all of the replies were like laugh emojis. It was 9 times more of that, or 10 times more of that, and like it was like 20,000 laughing and celebrating his death, and only like 2,000, right? 9-to-1 ratio of sad, or you know, the comments being, you know, condolences. Most of the comments were good, or the comments were like, your claim has been denied. Your insurance has been adjusted. Your insurance has been adjusted. The bullet in your chest was a pre-existing condition. That's like one of the most common, right? Because everybody has that experience, right? Everybody has a child, a grandparent, yourself, cousin who has been denied, you know, what should be free and accessible, a treatment, or a hospital, or a medication, you know, something, and they have died, they've suffered needlessly, because just so that a handful of people who already have too much money can have more money, not paying out their claims. It's like literally all that the US is the only country in the world that has this specific kind of, I mean, I've called it for a long time, right? US has universal death care, because you die at accelerated rates, right? Needlessly, you have universal death care, and you have universal wealth extraction, right? Because it's about taking money. It's about putting a gun made up of the pills and the serums and treatments and insulin, which is supposed to be free, which was said by the inventor, and it's extremely cheap to create that stuff. And it's putting a gun to your head and going, if you don't give me, it's blackmail, right? That's what U.S. healthcare it is. It is mass, widespread, rampant, socialized murder But it's socialized mass blackmail. So you die, and if you don't die, it's either you die or you're going to give, right, millionaires and billionaires all the money that you have, right? Somebody pointed out like, oh well, aren't you so happy that the healthcare company is going to cover X thousands of dollars of your cancer treatment. You only have to pay like $8,000, right? And then somebody pointed out the average American savings is $8,000, right? Like this is like the capitalist executives, the corporate executives, they tailor the deductible amount, how much you have to pay out of your pocket as a healthcare consumer, right? As a person who needs a kidney transplant, a person who needs a tracheotomy, a person who got into a vehicular accident and there's a piece of a steering wheel lodged into your large intestine, and now you have to pay, right, thousands and thousands of dollars for the ambulance ride, and then for the surgery, and then for the hospital stay and the anesthesia, right? Just the anesthesia can be thousands and thousands of, just ridiculous, right? Just it's ridiculous. Like those the actual like fluids and stuff, they don't cost like $10,000, but that's how much you can be charged just to have pain medication, just the pain medic, just the like more advanced Tylenol, even Tylenol. People have shown hospital bills, American medical bills of like $100 for like some Tylenol, like just a handful. Like it is just extortion. It is just stealing. It's just plunder. It's just ransacking. This is just like, it's like colonialism of your colon. I mean, I know that's like, I don't want to make light of that, but it's the same concept of that, which is that of the colonial. I'm not gonna make light of colonial history, but it's the same thing. It's like, I'm going to reach inside of your bank account and I'm going to reach inside wherever I can and I'm going to steal. It's just stealing. It's just murderous, extortionate, deadly, threat of violence-based stealing. That's what is similar, right? It's nothing to do with making products and then making a revenue from a profit. It has nothing to do, like making a product, selling some shoes, and then, taking the difference as some profit. It has nothing to do with like producing something in the world that people need and then people rewarding you with that with some money, right? This is just like grabbing money from people, right? And using their life, threatening their life to take all the money they have. That's why deductibles are set at $7,500, $8,000. They are tailored in order to steal what little money people have. And this because you can actually see like how the healthcare costs, like housing, like essential services, right? Like things you need, things like housing, things like healthcare, things like education, because you kind of need that to try to survive in a capitalist United States. Those are tailored exactly to how much they adjust to how much money, right, people have in the average person has in their discretionary savings. And even the corporations even try to target like they have price, like surge pricing and like facial biometric recognition based like AI generated pricing. So like when you buy the spaghetti, when you take the SpaghettiOs off of the Walmart shelf, when you get to the checkout, the price can change based upon what the cameras and the surveillance and the data, the big data that's crunching that, believes that you can afford to pay. If you're a cis white straight man, elderly, or 20-year-old, the price might be $3 or $2 or $6 depending on what, right? But similarly, that's just about squeezing as much money as the corporations, as the rich can out of you, out of your bank account, right? But the healthcare does the same thing, right? So it's like if they feel like the average population can pay $8,000, they're going to set that at $8,000. If they feel like you can pay $4, it's $4. If they can, whatever it is, they want to take any money that's in your pocket out of your pocket and give it to them and keep you broke, which also helps to make sure you keep on, being so desperate that you'll do anything to keep your job, including take lower pay, including take longer hours, including do dangerous jobs, including not unionize, including, like pee into, the Snapple bottles or the 7-Up, the 7-Up bottle, so that you can meet quotas, right? So that's all about, they call it disciplining the workforce. Anyway, my part there is that like this is not, because some of the arguments are CEOs produce so much value. Like Elon Musk is obviously saying, I produce so much value. We are so necessary to the world. Without us, we produce, Elon and the United Healthcare CEO, we produce thousands and millions of jobs that you need. And we make the system so efficient with the, what is efficient? Like when you went into Twitter and like destroyed it and like caused millions of people to have errors and eternal loading circles for like 36 hours straight when you first signed up, and like every other time, and like how you've actually lost tens of billions of dollars of value for that social media company. Is that the value? Is that the efficiency that you bring? No, CEOs are parasitical entities. A private capitalist system is inserting descendants of wig wearing 76 layer Versailles cake eating European aristocrats, oligarchs, descended from the Greco-Roman oligarchs, who they didn't produce anything either. They just feasted and ate cake and ate brioche while the workers did all the labor, right? And the colonies did even more of that. They have never produced, and they don't produce anything. And the difference between pre-1776, that was another big mass unaliving of a lot of United Healthcare CEOs of their era. Obviously, the French, the people that encircled the Dauphin and the Dauphin in Versailles, right? The wealthy, most powerful elites of 1700s France. Many of them lost their heads famously with the pitchforks, and the torches came for the palaces, and then people, a lot more than one died at that time. But those people were not producing, right? They didn't have like necessarily the kind of healthcare system that exists in the United States now, but people like Les Miserables is about, Jean Valjean, like the poor French peasant. He is starving, and he like goes to prison where he does slave labor, right? You can see Hugh Jackman, right, Wolverine's actor, is doing that in the Les Miserables show made in the last 20 years, but he's going to prison because for the crime of trying to survive by grabbing like a baguette, right? So the basic necessities that he doesn't have. The British and the French, the Charles Dickens' Tale of Two Cities is a story of the same thing in the British and the French world, which created mass misery for their people, their average citizens, British and French, and then they resorted to increasingly drastic means to survive, and then the elites responded by mass incarcerating and hurting them even more, and it just it was just a perpetual misery factory, a pressure cooker. And the French one exploded, and then the elites stopped, right? These same rich oligarchs with they had genetic purity, purebred, characteristics, but they always had money too, right? They claimed their genetic purity. That was part of it, but under the kings and the queens and lords and ladies. But it was always an oligarchy of some kind, and then it led a little bit more with the genetic purity. But there's always a separation between those who worked and those who played, those who starved and those who did not starve and ate as much cake, right, and brioche and as much flan and fancy onion soup, overpriced but not very well cooked British dinners with watercress sandwiches and the Queen's biscuits, and everyone else got to starve, right? There's a line where the richest cats drink the milk while the poorest babies starve to death. But and that has been like lack of food has been a weapon for a long time. Obviously, the people in the colonies, 27 million in 27 million Indians just died under Churchill in one fell swoop, forced starvation. But internally, people also starved and died, and that was one of the things that precipitated the French Revolution. And but now this is healthcare, right? Because lack of people are still like 70 million Americans were food insecure in the I forget, which is one of the early 2020s years, and it's still a huge number, millions of people. At some point in the year, are food insecure and are lacking their appropriate nutrition, or literally are dying of malnutrition. Did you know actually that Vietnam and China have less per capita, each of them, and Cuba also, but definitely Vietnam and China have less per capita deaths from starvation than the United States. The U.S. has thousands every year at least. Obviously, it's causing way more than that in GAZA, where it's doing GENOCIDE. But as Britain caused more in India, in the colony, than inside Britain. But it also caused starvation. People starved in the 1800s. The average people, all of Oliver Twist's urchins that were scampering around trying to eke out some kind of existence in the smog and cholera drenched nightmare of the British average life, right? They were dying. People were dying. The average life expectancy in Britain in the 1800s was 16. Like for the people that are actual workers, if you worked in a glass factory, you died in childhood, right? Sometimes from industrial accidents, sometimes from starvation, sometimes from the needlessly spreading plagues, lack of sanitation and basic health, public health, right? Including like what that guy's wearing that we need to keep doing, not the hoodie part, the part on his face, because of public health problems. That's a whole other issue, right? And so anyway, so that's like a historical perspective on that. But yeah, so food has been withholding of food by just increasing the price of the food, which is controlled by the corporate business owner, right, and the capitalist class altogether. They can control the price of the food, and they can control how much you get paid, right? And so all they have to do is if they set the price of the food or the healthcare higher and higher and higher, right? And then they set your pay lower and lower and lower, and they're squeezing and squeezing and squeezing to the maximum, and it's calculated, right? And the real breaking point is not like what is legal to charge, right? How much legally can you? That's irrelevant. The breaking point is not what the market will bear. That's not really how this works, right? It's an oligarchy. It's a team. It's a skull and bones. Group of pals. They're golfing buddies. These people all know each other. The ruling class, right? It's not like they pretend to be. Sometimes they compete, but they fight. They have they bicker and they feud a little bit, but the real war is a class war against the underclasses, and they have solidarity when it comes to that, right? They work together, right? The real question is not like how much you can charge for healthcare or food or housing. Or how much is legal or how much the market, this and that. At the highest level is the question is how much can we charge for healthcare without ourselves being unalived, like in the French mass guillotining, right? How much can we? And for the French, they discovered the breaking point. It's approximately when the calories drop below 500 or 300 per day per person, right? And it's just several. There's a science. This is what they spend a lot of time thinking about, right? They asked Douglas Rushkoff for advice about how to control their security forces when the money stops working. Should use AI, automated deaf security robots with machine guns and piloted by IDF personnel, or should they have AI automated drones and have one programmer run that, or should they make it so that there's a sensor in their brain and their heart, and if they are ever under extreme duress or tortured by their own security personnel because their security personnel hate them, right? then it will cause a bomb to go off that destroys all the food supply, because that is what the elite spend their time thinking about. At what point does the working classes and the masses resentment, anger, sadness, and rage meet a boiling point, and then they start dying? When do the rich start to die by being unalived by the poor? Right? That's the only thing that matters. Right? That's all that they care about, or suffering real serious consequences because of how upset the poor are. Right? So let me point out, a protest is not there because if a mass action doesn't have it is a class war. It's not a class discussion, right? But that's what the liberals there to make everybody think that this is just a bunch of friends hanging out singing kumbaya, and we're just having arbitrary, this kind of like celestial discourse, like Dr. Manhattan sitting on the moon talking about shit. $8 an hour Uber gig workers with somehow having a useless college degree, being even more in debt. $8 an hour workers and billionaires, we're all sitting together and having this nice little conversation talking about what is the best policy. That's not what's happening. Oh, what are the benefits of Bernie Sanders social democracy a shift versus a more conservative tightening our belt. All of that stuff is this is mostly most Western discourse like that. This political discourse is just smokescreen distraction from the actual on the ground reality, which is that at what point are you going to figure out, at what point will the masses figure out the game and be hurt so badly and then become conscious of who's hurting them and then retaliate, as it was before the blasting of the smokescreen that was the post 1776 liberal capitalist, now they call it the rules-based order, but the liberal capitalist democracy program in response to the mass unaliving of the oligarchs, right? If there wasn't a mass unaliving of the ruling class, it would still be, mask off. It would still be just mask off feudal colonial capitalism instead of liberal democratic rules-based order, all that. In the 20th century, right? Big communist parties started. Wow. Obviously Soviet Union and obviously there's China, but there was a big mass unaliving of tsars, of the rich and the oligarchs and the wealthy, and that freaked Europeans out. That freaked France out, right? When the Red Armies rose up and many wealthy oligarchs, obviously in Russia, suddenly became deceased, and their power and their resources started being seized by communists. That freaked them out, and they said, we have to do something about. We have to fight. We have to have a civil war, and then the push, the constant push against, right, those same corporate executives / aristocracy, right? They have been trying to fight that ever since. That's what the Cold War was about. That's what this whole thing was always about, right? Trying to stop the spread of communism, also decolonization. With that, that's colonialism and imperialism is the highest form of the capitalist system. Therefore, communism and decolonization are inherently intertwined. And but without that threat that the wealthy United Healthcare CEO type people are going to lose their lives, and they're going to lose their wealth and their lives by the upset, angry working masses and just average people, right? There would not have been even the UN, right? Even this, right? The neo-colonialism as it's described, right? Which is, even talking about we're going to have nonprofits, and we're having, we have an anti-genocide, right? All of the Geneva Convention, all of that is and the U.S. in the U.S. and capitalist colonial countries getting better after World War II. That is not because they came together and just talked about it, Americans and Europeans didn't come together to talk about it. Oh, we're going to be better now. It was because big, huge mass death of their ruling classes in other countries. And then sometimes it was spreading towards Europe, right? People forget the spread of the communism of rich United Healthcare CEO types losing their lives or having their wealth stripped from them. Right, obviously Mao Zedong and the Chinese Communist Revolution. Landlords, everybody who's paying your rent to, right? All the CEOs in China, they lost their lives, they lost their heads, they lost their land, and if not, they lost their land, they lost everything that they had, and maybe their lives too. And their fascists and their cops that they paid to beat up on the tenants, evict them, right, and to keep the workers oppressed, massacre people in the fields. They got fought, and they're in Taiwan now. They retreated and they got pushed out. They got pushed out into Taiwan, and in Europe they got pushed out. A lot of them retreated to after World War II. They retreated into Ukraine. A lot of them retreated into the place. Many people I've been working with ISRAEL, but without that push, without that mass anti-capitalist, which is to say communism. Pushback that involves military force, because the rich, they always view it as a war. It's a perpetual war, and the liberal is there to make you feel like this is just a civil discussion when nothing civil about it, right? There's nothing civil about cutting off somebody's healthcare. There's nothing civil about cutting off somebody who needs insulin and it's $400 and letting them die. There's nothing civil about what's happening in the Middle East right now, which is all backed by the United States. Hundreds of thousands of innocent babies and women and men unalived. There's nothing civil about that, right? The live streaming, you cannot live stream mass unaliving of 6 months old by rockets like splitting their bodies in half, and like people like sniping disabled children. Like America supported, US supported soldiers with drones intentionally shooting like 30 times and do like a child in a wheelchair. You cannot live stream that, which that is what has happened, by the way, in case you forgot. Right? This is why the 2020 is a little bit different than the previous time. Many things are different, but one of them is that has been broadcast for over 1 year. For over 1 year, everyone. That's also why they're trying to ban TikTok, because that's the number one platform where you can see that, because it's not a Western control platform, but it's the least of the Western control platforms. But they're trying to ban that right now. Just they passed that recently. The U.S. government has like okayed the ban. Is supposed to go through by January, mid-January. But either way, people have already seen, right, 1 year and 2 months of innocent people being massacred on their screen all day, right? Or for big chunks of the day. Sometimes it goes away for a little bit, and then it comes back, because it's still happening right now as we speak. And you can't just keep innocent people cannot just constantly be unalived on your screen all day for the millions of people, even in the United States, and expect people, and then you cannot. The rich cannot expect their guilty rich selves to not eventually become unalived. When everyone is forced to watch that, like eventually somebody is going to be like, well, if this is not a country with that, if we're expected to allow and normalize mass murder, like if we're not going to even pretend like we respect human rights, we're not even going to pretend like we're going to have the UN Human Rights Commission, we're going to have the ICC declare this is genocide, the worst crime the humans can do to others. And we're not even going to respect the human rights. We're not going to pretend like we have a court. We're not going to pretend like we have a justice system. We're not going to pretend like we have values or morals or decency, right? We're just going to let this rip. Also with obviously the pandemic, it's a whole other one. We're just going to let that thing rip. Y'all going to get screwed, which is also intertwined and is connected to the healthcare. You can only do that for so long, and then somebody's going to be like, well, If we're just anybody can, if it is like, the Purge, that dystopian sci-fi movie, right? Or it's not really a sci-fi movie, it's just dystopian US. If the United States of America is going to be the Purge, but it's not one day a year, it's every day. You can kill whoever you want and nobody cares. Every day you can just kill whoever you want and nobody cares, because that's apparently what the US is. Or it always has been, but now it's just not pretending. Then I guess it's time to, actually have somebody who deserves it get unalived. That's basically that's part of what has happened, I think. And obviously corporations, corporate media, capitalist media, Western media, New York Times, they don't want to address that. They just want to say, oh, what was the new, wait, if you just look up New York Times, right? What are they going to say, right? Americans express frustration with health. Torrent of hate, right? For health, the shooting death of United Healthcare executive in Manhattan has unleashed Americans' frustration with an industry that often denies coverage and reimbursement for medical claims. I mean, good job figuring that out, genius. Do we need the billions of dollars, right, invested in salaries paid at the New York Times to tell us this? Is that also, it's interesting how they describe it as it's hate, right? But it's in a grim twist, this just got posted. In a grim twist, in a grim twist, New York Times has supported and condoned mass millions of deaths in Iraq, in the current ongoing Gaza atrocity, right? But it's like they have to spin it as let me see if I can find one. No, I try to find one of their UHC articles. A man was murdered in cold blood and you're laughing, and everyone is like, yes, I am absolutely laughing. I am celebrating. We are crab raving. Everyone is cheering. Just like when Henry Kissinger died. If you are a horrible, monstrous person who has done horrible things, this is another brainwashing in the capitalist world. You cannot speak ill of the dead. That is only spoken by people who have done massive amounts of ill deeds. If you have done ill deeds, you deserve to be remembered correctly for the deeds you have done. If you have done good deeds, you should deserve to be remembered for those deeds. But the way that it is always described is never speak the ill deeds, right? That very convenient for the place that has the most ill deeds in the world, the capitalist, imperialist hyperpower of the United States. Very convenient to never speak of those ill deeds, right? That is filled with the UHC and run by UHC CEO type people, right? These horrible, abusive, child abusing pastors, priests, and politicians, right? Where most of the Senate, according to Colonel Douglas McGregor, spends half their time or all their time on Epstein Island. Never speak ill of these people. How could you laugh at these people when they die? If horrible people die, if somebody who has killed your family dies, right? Then people would be, understandably happy, relieved, feeling vindicated, feeling a sense of justice being done when that person who has done horrible deeds dies. And so, right? And every single person in the United States, everyone knows somebody or is somebody who has been harmed by the parasitical, unnecessary, murderous U.S. healthcare system. So yeah, everyone is celebrating, and anyway. Yeah. So anyway, let's come back to this though. What else do I want to say? Yeah. So I think So obviously, corporate media is taking the angle that this is a result of some kind of it's a corporate media. All the people who have supported the ISRAEL doing the highest crime humans can do and mass atrocity. Those are the people that are also supporting. We have to all speak nicely of this guy who, like, personally chose to use AI to deny 90% of claims, increasing his criminality, increasing his horribleness with just by using AI, just using this horrible plagiarism software, stochastic pirate, water energy burning, and African Kenyan slave labor using software called generative AI. It's funny. People say, "Oh, we have to boycott the tomatoes in China because it could have slave labor." How about the slave labor? The many Kenyans that are paid like absolute dirt wages, right, to train the generative AI. How about that slave labor, right? Which is also what the United Healthcare CEO was using. Let's go through that now. It's a good time to go to that. Yeah, happy Communist Revolution in the United States. This is the Revolutionary Communists of America marching through the streets. Usually there's sig heiling in the U.S., but that's different. Happy communists. The Chinese say, under the glorious leadership of the CPC, we Chinese people have achieved liberation of the entire territory of China's mainland in 1951. In 2024, the sparks are also igniting in North America. The day when people of the U.S. will be liberated is not far off. So, it's like, hey, you can only F around so far until you got to find out. Also, shout out to the people wearing masks. Look, I see a good number of people masked in that. So good for you. Anyways, so let's move on to the play by play. U.S. Not that one. Okay, let's go back to the start. I have kind of this little thread I made, so it has a lot of information. What has happened this week? Some CEOs don't want to die, it seems. Okay, well, first up, here's my cosplay. I am a Mahu person. I like to dress as femme, and much of the time, this is my United Healthcare cosplay kit. Obviously, it doesn't really matter what. It doesn't matter what the t-shirt, cloak, hoodie, bandana. You could be wearing like polyester. You can look like Saturday Night Fever, bell bottoms. It doesn't matter what you're wearing, because the United States Police Department is incompetent people who only beat up on innocents. So it's not like they solve crimes. So just dress however you want. But the U.S., right? They don't even know who the hell they're looking for, right? So just the cosplay is just have a silencer. You have a city bike, because when you have a city bike, then that's definitely what the UHC shooter was using, right? All right, even though City Bike themselves even reported, right, that they don't have any record of that being used in that area. So but yeah, so get your City Bike. Anyways, okay, so but yeah, that was, the day after. Okay, so in case you didn't follow this, maybe you did, but if you didn't follow this, so Anthem made a decision that same day. Let me see if I can get that article. Or like within the same, maybe it was like a couple weeks ago, but Anthem had announced that they were going to follow through on that decision to not that one. Yeah, Anthem. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, Anthem backtracks on the decision, but before that, Anthem had said that they were going to, they would not pay for the complete duration of anesthesia for patients' surgeries. So what does that mean? That means that, like, if you're going for surgery, let's say you're having a quadruple bypass, open heart surgery, they're cutting open your chest cavity with a bone saw, right? I mean, that's just like a lot of, they have to cut through muscle. They have to cut. I mean, so you're going to get the pain medication, and you're going to be put to sleep, and you have the IV in for the first hour. And then after that, when Blue Shield deems you have run out of money, they're going to cut the pain meds off so that you feel saws slicing through your rib cage. You feel your heart and your organs being cut open. like I don't even know, like this. It's just so. But you know what I said, like, right, when you live stream this mass horror, when you normalize people just like mass suffering and dying from COVID and all of that healthcare malfeasance on top of the already existing, right, just horrible U.S. health system even before 2020. And it's like the healthcare company, and also like right before this, right, it's kind of like whatever is happening in GAZA, they're like going to visit that, including like when Ferguson, they visited the tear gas strategies of Black Lives Matter in that time they were exchanging techniques with the Palestine people, but recently there was a report. There were many stories of how children in GAZA in the Middle East were having to have like surgeries, amputations with no anesthesia. Pregnant women having C-sections, their stomachs cut open and babies pulled out with no anesthesia because they have no hospital infrastructure because of what the U.S. has done in West Asia over there. And then shortly after that, it's like, well, what if we use that tactic that we use against people in GAZA, those poor people being, we'll do that to Americans, right? This is how, what happens there is coming back. It always boomerangs back. And so they're saying, well, what if Americans had to have surgery with no pain meds? That would be a great technique. We can extort more money from people. We can get people to either unalive themselves. There's been all these articles, right? There's all these eugenicist articles about we don't really need disabled people around. We don't need elderly people around. We don't need this. And if you don't want to go around, give us all your money. If you don't want to die, right? That's another edge of that, right? The Malthusian, there's too many people here. You're useless eaters, right? There's all this like just like Nazi stuff going around, right? It's just like Western colonialist stuff going around. We don't need people who can't work. And now it's like, well, if you need anesthesia, pay up. I mean, this is like, like in The Godfather when the mob tortures you, like the cartel, they tie you to the chair, right? They blindfold you, they take the bag off of your head, and you got this guy with the 6'4", 400-pound guy with his black gloves, and it's like the surgeon, right? Like the shady surgeon with all of his implements, torture devices, and then it starts like blow torching and cutting pieces off of you. The United States is doing like, the U.S. is doing like Marlon Brando's Godfather mob boss torture for money. That's what they're trying to extort the money out of you, right? But using your healthcare procedure as the torture. I mean, it's just disgusting, and it's like, or it's like either that, or you can get tortured. So you can choose to get tortured, or you can pay yourself your $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $50,000. Right? So you can choose. So you can suffer like unimaginable pain for hours, or you can take all the money you have, take your house that your children need to live in, and give it to rich CEOs that have 50 houses, or suffer. Oh, it's just like it's like Saw. This is like Saw, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre of the 20 teens, right? With his little bicycle and his, like that guy who tortures people for fun. It's like a horror show. I mean, it is a horror show. I mean, the colonial capitalist order is a horror show, obviously. But this is really gross. Anyway, so, long story short, so that's what they were threatening to do, was to not pay for the complete duration of anesthesia for patient surgery, and the health insurance companies, that decided to do that. But you see, after the CEO, many people are saying, what does this do? This, shooting the UHC CEO, this rich person, hasn't changed anything. It absolutely has changed something. It absolutely, concretely has changed something. And that specific something is this. Some CEOs don't want to die. Anthem has backtracked the decision to cap anesthesiology coverage in Connecticut. That's the same. So they have backtracked, right? Very, very important to highlight. Nobody voted. Bernie Sanders didn't win a social democratic election. Elizabeth Warren didn't use her genius, multiple degrees, and feminist, consumer protectionist powers. I mean, feminism was great, but but she's kind of like, I am the great, smartest lawyer, very, very good policymaker. I will fight for consumer protection. Right? She ran the consumer protection. We will get better policy. Right? It's not Elizabeth Warren. It's not Bernie Sanders. It's not an elected official. It's not social democracy. Not democratic socialism. It's not liberal. This all that. Sometimes they don't call itself liberal, but it's all liberal. Smoke screen gaslighting is just this nonsense, endless conversation talking about talking. Right? It's like it's literally in the CIA handbook. This is how you disrupt communist, socialist, Black Panther movements and meetings in the mid 20th century. It's just like cause endless, needless, directionless, moot discussion so nothing happens. It's nothing to do with the talk. It's nothing to do with voting. Nobody won an election to change the healthcare situation. I mean, Biden won, a Democrat won, before that a Republican won. Obama won. Obama was quoted saying he chose to go back on his push for single payer because, and I quote, he said, there's millions of people employed by health insurance companies. We got to think of their jobs. If your job is to deny people who are in critical need of healthcare claims and helping them to die or go bankrupt, you don't need that job. That is what David Graeber once called a BS job, a bullshit job. The health insurance in the U.S., some people have called the U.S. a giant for-profit death care hospital. Those jobs don't need to exist. They can get something else to do with their lives than making people miserable for richer people than them to have stolen money. You don't need to be a healthcare administrator. Millions of people don't need to be hitting a button called deny, deny, deny. Or now what they do is they talk to a ChatGPT AI that is displacing them and say, ChatGPT, can you deny people claims based upon, I don't know, make up a reason? Because the moon was full, because they had a pre-existing condition of breathing, right? Literally, they were using generative AI to make 90% erroneous, incorrect healthcare healthcare denials. So that is not even hyperbolic. That is literally the case. But Obama himself even said, right, no, this is the hope and change president, right? This is the Democrat. This is going to change everything. He said, no, we need to keep all those jobs for all those people. That's the same argument as saying, like, we can't stop having 800 military bases across the world. We can't stop unaliving and bombing and shooting and bringing slavery to Libya, bombing Iraq and Afghanistan in the Stone Age. We can't stop killing and backing the mass CIDE in Congo and Sudan. We can't take our aircraft carriers out of South China Sea. We can't not go into Vietnam, because think of all the soldiers' jobs. Think of all the Lockheed Martin bomb makers' jobs. Think of all of their jobs, right? Many people who are soldiers, bomb makers, insurance adjusters for the bomb droppers, stock investors, they will need to get new jobs doing something useful to the world rather than destructive, deadly, unnecessary, and horrible. And you could stop, think of all the jobs of the people that are unaliving little babies in GAZA. They will need to get new jobs one day, or they can be unalived. If they really don't want to stop unaliving babies, they can be unalived, like they are being by resistance, and like the United Healthcare CEO has been unalived. Right? But that's a literal argument. Oh, the healthcare industry is providing all these jobs. The U.S. healthcare, yeah. If your job involves harming people, and particularly that is the sole reason for those jobs. It's nothing to do with health healing. The doctors themselves have said, the doctors themselves are like celebrating. There was a doctor who was treating a patient like this week, and a patient was having a problem, and I forget what it was. Holly was telling me about it, and the doctor said like, maybe you should go down to were you in Midtown Manhattan recently? The doctors have said like to the healthcare executives that they are, in support of the UHC shooter. They're like, because the doctors are the ones that have to. Many doctors and nurses would like to treat people and heal them, but they simply cannot do it. One of the top reasons, I mean many reasons, but one of the top reasons why people resign as nurses and doctors and other healthcare workers, healthcare professionals, is because they're so disheartened, infuriated, sickened, disgusted by the way that the private capitalist death care American system works. They're like, oh my God, I cannot stand to do this. I had to watch a little 5-year-old die from what would have been an easy, simple, necessary procedure, not from a pre-existing condition. I could have saved this child's life, but because a millionaire and billionaire investors needed to make more money, this child died, and people leave for that, understandably. So the doctors don't know this. Patients definitely know this. Everybody knows this. This is a problem. The only people that don't, people who pretend to not know, U.S. politicians, U.S. executives. The other thing is, everybody, all the U.S. Congress and all branches of U.S. government are guilty and complicit in this. They all back and support. They all take millions of dollars of bribes, also known as campaign donations. The U.S. is just the system with the greatest. Well, the U.S. has the most advanced. U.S. is number one in producing a system of mass normalized, but pretending not to be mass normalized criminality and bribery. It's called the U.S. government. That's what it's for. Especially the Congress. So every one of the politicians, including Obama, including Biden, including Kamala, including Trump, are all implicated in all of this. All parties, certainly the two major ones that ever win anything. And so but yeah, anyway, so let me come back to that point there. The shooting, the United Healthcare CEO shooting has changed something that voting has not changed. Different parties have not changed. Campaigning has changed. Writing letters to senators, calling in, has not done anything to change this. The lawsuits, the legal system, the court system, circuit, district court, state court, Supreme Court, none of that has done anything at all. The Supreme Court rubber stamped, right? Citizens United, they just rubber stamped, accelerated corporate bribery to corrupt the country, including the healthcare system. So the courts have, if anything, enabled all of this criminality. So it's not getting better at lawyering, getting more law degrees, passing the bar exam, having good people pass bar exam and fight in court. Hasn't done anything. Courts are sites of lawfare. For one of them is global colonial warfare. As they pointed out, right, the UN and the ICC is to persecute African leaders and Russia and other countries that in places that not Europeans and not American leaders who are doing the most crimes against humanity of any place. And but internally, the courts have not done anything of significance. That's why it's so desperate. That's why things have gotten so bad. So it's not lawsuits against healthcare companies that changes anything in any significant way. It's not voting that's changed anything in a significant way. It's not this or that party. It's not this or that ideology or which one we're going to follow. Or if we can just move Biden to the left, nothing that has. How has that worked out, by the way? Right? He has committed. We're going to move it to the left. Biden went. He swan dived to the right, and Kamala Harris did a quadruple backflip in the direction of the right. And they said, "Oh, you think you're going to get healthcare? No. You're going to give you whatever we said about healthcare. We're going to not only are we not going to give you any healthcare. By the time we're done, you're gonna be tortured for money. You think your healthcare is bad before. By the end of the Biden Democrat lesser of two evil administration, we are going to be cutting out your organs while you are awake with not even an aspirin. we are going to be cutting your heart out with you fully alive and conscious for money, right? Not only that, we're going to move us to the left. By the time we're done, we're going to start Holocaust too. By the time we're done, you think we're moving right? We're not even done. We're not even close. In October of 2023, we're going to start doing straight up Holocaust too. We're going to do the most right wing thing possible. You're going to do the most right thing possible, and we're going to, not only that, we're going to do it in a way that everyone will see it. It's even more egregious, because it's not more egregious, but like, we're going to do it even more insultingly, because we're going to make you all watch it on your TV all day long while we mass unalive people. It's going to make you watch that all day long. So that hasn't worked. Pushing Biden to the left, pushing Democrats to the left hasn't worked. One CEO, and like, oh my God, they're like, oh, please don't hurt us. What one rich oligarch got, high velocity guillotined, and the ruling class is like, they have disappeared, right? Healthcare companies, they're removing their CEOs. They're moving all the photographs from all their of their CEOs and their locations from all their public. They're scrambling to get better security for themselves. They're freaking the hell out. That's just one, right? The whole U.S. public, wall to wall. I mean, like people who call themselves liberal, left, conservative, have all been like saying, "Here's more targets. Here's more targets. Here's more targets for you," right? People like it's so this claim that now obviously we cannot condone illegal activity on this. That would be a violation of the TOS. I'm just saying, like, this is by the numbers, by the evidence, by the data, this is what has happened. What has happened is there has been changes in the healthcare policy. There has been changes in the United States. Now, obviously, it's not enough changes, but this is more change. This is more change than spending 300 million people spending 8 hours a day, 4 hours a day, campaigning, stump speeching, sending your $100,005. I asked you for your $5, please. Just send me this is the most important election. Send me your $5. What did that do? What did the $5 do? What did hours of campaigning, knocking, phone banking, knocking on doors, trying to educate people about what the great it's going to be to, when we have Bernie Sanders, Medicare for all. How much time and energy was spent there? How much time? This guy spent like 10 minutes. Well, he spent a little bit more time probably planning it. But the UHC shooter, he spent like, a handful of hours, and $10 out of how much was the backpack? Was it a Prada backpack? Okay, wait. Is there gonna be like a Versace? Is there gonna be like a Versace version of the backpack? Are we gonna have like the Versace $800 designer UHC shooter backpack? Really? This is like a wall. Everything he had on was a hoodie, some glasses. We had a hoodie. You had a backpack. You had some generic shoes. As I said, all you need for the UHC shooter cosplay, the modern day Robin Hood cosplay, they're calling him the insurance adjuster. So they're asking, like, what is the mass line on the proper moniker for UHC shooter? Some people are saying insurance adjuster. I mean, whatever, we'll see what happens. But the insurance adjuster, the UHC insurance adjuster of the person's Brian Thompson's pre-existing condition of being a healthcare CEO, right, which resulted in his death. All you need is just like generic Walmart $50, $40 worth of Walmart clothes, right? $40, $40 worth of Walmart clothes, generic bike. The gun is the most expensive thing. Gun is some hundreds of dollars. And then it was like, a few hours, and then the guy's gone. And then, holy shit, holy crap, look at that. The healthcare companies are actually changing their policies, reversing their decisions based upon a few hours and like, a few $100s worth of money. Not all this billions of dollars poured in the Democratic Party. All this talk about all this lawsuit, all this writing letters, senators, right? Tweeting at your senators. All of that was a waste of time. That was a waste of time. I'm sorry. It was a waste of time. Like, educating the masses about the structure of the society. I mean, people don't need to be told the healthcare system is messed up. They know it's messed up. They don't need to be told that. It's a waste of time. People need to be told like what is actually happening, why is it happening, what they need to do about it. I'm not saying anybody should go out, and obviously I'm not saying people should go out and do this. That would be condoning something illegal. And I just want to confirm, okay? I am, even when I'm in the Fed mode, I know I closely resemble the shooter. I was not in New York this week. I promise. But like, people need to be taking the actions. People need to be taking the effective action. I mean, during the election, I was talking about, I don't spend a lot of time worrying about the U.S. election because it's not going to do anything, right? As you should know, going through 10 elections in your life, you should know that by now. It's obviously just going around, it's also important. So we point out, like, I'm not just for shooting random people, right? It's not random people, right? At the same time as this is happening, there's still school shootings happening. There's still people being shot, because of, racial violence. There's still, especially I think minorities being shot. People are being killed for, just mugging and just, petty theft. That's not good. But like, right. But like, some people point out, it's important to point that out. It's not just like, oh, you can get a date, because people are saying like, oh my God, I suddenly have the hots for the UHC shooter. Also, when they reveal this picture, like, he looks like a hot guy. So everybody's like, now everyone's like lusting after all the women. Like, I am down hyper terabad for this shooter. I need to date this shooter. I need to give me his number. I want to go on a date with the UHC shooter. Like, that is like, this guy is the most popular guy I'm not even joking. Like, if there was an election right now, the UHC shooter would beat Kamala, Trump, and everyone. It would hands down across the board. Like, it's got to be, he would get like 96% of the vote if he ran. If it was possible for him to run for president, he would win the U.S. He would win the popular vote. I mean, Democrats and obviously the U.S. would put him in prison forever and or unalive him. Because U.S. doesn't stand for democracy and freedom and all those things, human rights, right? But like, he would absolutely win the election right now. He is winning the popular masses' approval right now. The UHC shooter is more popular than every candidate, every politician, all parties, Democrat, Republican, executive, legislative branch, Supreme Court. I mean, they all have less than 50%, so I know that's not really saying that much. But I mean, like, it's the case that somebody who has gone and done an unaliving, that's done a shooting, is more popular than every single leader, every single person that runs the so-called greatest country in the world, the so-called leader of the free world. That's something, that's something. And anyway, so there are, obviously people joining orgs, getting more educated about what is happening. There's like economic actions that can be taken. There's a whole list of things that can be done that is of impact. Building worker-owned cooperatives, right? I mean, it's important to point out, like, it's a CEO of a company. And this is why I pointed out, because, I don't particularly, well, actually, let me find where is that one? Here at the Silver Spoon Cooperative, that's why I point out, like, because I like my life. I like to breathe. I don't like bullets in me. Unlike this guy, the mood is when your claim is denied, and then you get bullets in you I made this little meme. I took the D and the M in Doom and I swapped it, and put the UHC shooter's backpack hoodie on top of with a silencer on. Brian Johnson, rest in hell. But I pointed out that also, by the way, Neofeud is 70% off. Since CEOs and capitalism are going downhill, thank goodness, my anti-capitalist game Neofeud, which is about billionaires and their system being overthrown by underpaid social workers, homeless people, and class traders, is 70% off. And here at Silver Spoon Games, we are a worker cooperative. I point that out all the time, but I really want to point that out, especially now, because there is crosshairs on CEOs now. We are a worker cooperative. There are no CEOs. And like, what is a CEO though? I mean, this is important. This is important for people to know and to talk about. What is the difference between a worker cooperative and a private 501c3 or a private corporation, a capitalist but smaller business, right? That is important, because a worker cooperative, like Silver Spoon Games. There are many of them. The decisions, right, are made not according to what the needs, what the people who have the most money, or people who are put in place by people who have money. That's what the capitalist dictatorship, or something that's called the capitalist dictatorship, the capitalist internal tyranny or autocracy is, or oligarchy internally, right? Brian, so like at Silver Spoon Games, like if we need, like there's me, myself, I'm the main worker for the games making, but it's me, and it's like a family business, but we make decisions as a family democratically according to what all of our family needs. And like, Holly and I, we don't like have separate bank accounts and I can like hoard the money over. But like if we had more workers, if Silver Spoon Games expanded and we had like 10 or 50 workers, right? Then all the workers would collectively decide on what to do, right? So if we're gonna make another game, we would collectively decide, okay, we're gonna, what kind of science fictional game, and we're gonna, creative decisions might be different, but like, everyone would have a say in like how the game was produced. But most importantly, right, we can make a science fiction game or a fantasy game or whatever, but where the money is going to go, that's the most important thing. So if there was 10 people working on Neofeud, and let's say like everybody puts in 10% of the work, 10 people, let's say there's Neofeud 3, or there's another game, and everybody puts in 10% of the work, everyone gets paid out 10% of the revenue. So if the game makes $100,000 in 1 year, everybody gets $10,000. That's just like a very simple description, right? If the game makes $1 million, everyone gets 10% of that, $100,000, right? Or if it's 5 people and the game makes 100,000, then everybody gets 20,000, right? And then the decisions about how we're going to operate are collectively made. So we're not going to, so no one of us can just go, oh, what's going to be a great thing is let's just make a really crappy asset flip game. Let's make the worst microtransaction. Let's make the most like shady game that rips off customers to make a lot of money, right? And I'm not going to work with people who want to make crappy games to make money. I want to work with people who want to make interesting games that are relevant to the current reality, which is a capitalist, horrible reality where billionaires are hurting everyone and need to be undone by social workers, homeless. And I want to make relevant games about what's happening, while also working I want to make games that critique the capitalist colonial system while also working inside of an anti-capitalist system, not being pretentious hypocrite like CD Projekt and other capitalist game companies that pretend to critique corporations and the capitalist system. They don't, or they can't in a real way, and they don't follow through on what they're saying if they're working in a capitalist entity. Anyway, so in that system, right? We're not going to make some crappy. We're not going to do a United Healthcare style decision, because like the average worker, normal person, that's not some horrible monstrous person who unalives it's estimated Brian Thompson is responsible for at least tens of thousands of premature deaths, including knowingly using generative AI to knowingly fraudulently deny thousands of claims. So he has resulted personally in tens of thousands of people's premature death and suffering and bankruptcies. That's not a normal person, right? CEOs, the capitalist oligarchy class, and the people that carry out their bidding, chief executive officers and that whole class of corporate executives, those are not average people. These you have to, something is not fully correct. You have some lack of empathy. You're doing terrible things, or you have the ability to do terrible things, sleep at night, wake up and go back to work. The people that at the UHC meeting, it's like horrible. There was an 8:00 investor meeting when the UHC CEO was shot. The other executives, they stepped over his body. His body was warm, bleeding out. They stepped over the puddle of blood. There was that speech by that one of the Arabic people that was saying, you have to step over hundreds of thousands of dead bodies to get to that voting booth and vote for Kamala Harris. How can you do that? How can you, right? The CEOs just like they literally stepped over a bloody dead body, and they walked into the room and they had their investor meeting like nothing had happened. The same day, within just hours, there was a post up on the UHC website. The body was still warm, right? That is the soulless, just like inhuman system, capitalist system, corporate world, and like how those people are. Like they can smile for the camera, but like there's something empty. I don't know. Something is wrong with these people, especially if you have worked there for years, which Brian had. Something is deeply, it filters out people who have consciences and people who act upon right and wrong and their morality. They will leave the corporate world before they climb the ladder that far to become an executive, chief CEO, a high level executive, highly paid executive in the corporate capitalist world. So my point is that in the cooperative, like the Silver Spoon Cooperative, which is one, there's many. Mondragon is a huge Spanish one. Huawei is actually a cooperative as well, with worker owners making up that very large, important tech company. But there's many other ones. There's smaller bakeries. There's game companies. Motion Twin is another game company that is a worker cooperative. But what it means is that the people that work at the company, whatever it is, the business, the thing you're doing, because people have to do healthcare. We don't have to do private capitalist insurance healthcare, but people need to do surgery. People need surgery. People need meds. People need nurses. People need ambulances, right? People do need entertainment of some kind, right? But you don't necessarily need games the same way you need surgery. But people need to do their activity, right? Whether that's cooking food, running a restaurant, running a food service, running the electricity company, running the making the games, making entertainment. People need to do work. They don't have to organize it in a capitalist corporate structure with CEOs, right? With executives, and the main problem is that what privatization is when the investors, which are millionaires and billionaires, own the company and decide everything that's going to happen through their executors, right? The CEO is actually the chief executive officer on behalf of the investors, who are almost all millionaire, billionaire, ultra rich oligarch class, and the CEOs themselves are investors in other entities too, right? So they are the upper class, the oligarchic world, and all decisions are made based upon the board of directors that is decided by the shareholders, the major shareholders that are all the ultra rich. They then select the CEO, CFO, chief financial officer, CTO, chief technology officer, etc., who have a fiduciary responsibility is actually legally bound to maximize profit or the money revenue for their shareholders, right? So that itself is a deeply warped, systemically, fundamentally malicious system, right? And it brings in malicious or people who can throw out their humanity to work in that. And anyway, so the cooperative is like cuts all of that out and just says like, well, workers, we will work at this entity, at this place, at this business, right? Game business, health business, food business, technology business, like Huawei or Mondragon is a cooperative of cooperatives. There's like over 200 restaurants. There's just-in-time manufacturing. They do nanotech. Even they do some regular engineering. They used to make parts for Volkswagen. I don't know what Volkswagen. They seem to be shutting down now, but they made car parts for European car companies. But each one of them is run cooperatively. They get together and they vote on who the workers vote on who is going to lead the CEO position. the maximum, they set the salary. The workers set the salary of the CEO, the maximum that the head, the director of the wanted to go on cooperative, the maximum. They're like bigger, more organized than Silver Spoon Cooperative, right? They're like 100,000 people, I think. And the salary is set at 6 times. The maximum is 6 times more than the lowest paid worker, right? But the important thing is, where is the power? The power flows from the workers, actually democratically, to the leadership, as opposed to the leadership being controlled by the pre-existing condition of being extremely wealthy, horrible people, millionaire, billionaire class people, who control the activities of the corporation through the board, through the executive, the C-suite, right? Those are the people at the 100th floor with the corner office. And that is not democratic. That is tyrannical. That is plutocratic. Plutocratic meaning government by money. The more money you have, the more power you have and the control you have. And so, and that results in these kind of horrible outcomes like we're seeing across the board. And so, anyway, so long story short, so that's why people should know about that, and and like obviously worker-owned cooperatives is not the total solution to all problems, but that is for things that cannot be nationalized, right? Because nationalization is another option, right? A universal healthcare system, Medicare for all, right? Ideally, right, you would have a healthcare system where people who need healthcare are given healthcare, people who don't, and people who is paid for by everyone collectively pooling their revenue into the government, which is running a nationalized universal healthcare system. Now, there's different forms of that. There's a Cuban system. The Chinese have their own system. And you pay some, but it's a very small amount, and the prices are set by a government. There's European systems, like many European systems, like NHS is under threat. The Canadian healthcare system, it was formerly very universal, but the U.S. pressure, capitalist pressure to kind of dismantle and gut protections has meant that Canada actually has in some cases, worse healthcare. For example, they have 1.8 beds per thousand patients, which is lower. They have a more under-resourced hospital system than even the United States, and they have really bad disabled treatment. But that's not necessarily because the healthcare system is bad. The United States has pushed them to basically remove support for the healthcare system, to argue to people that you see why it's so bad. That's why we need a U.S. style system. So the capitalists would like everyone in the world to have a U.S. style health system, right? But most of the people in the world are kind of like, I'm a little bit scared of that, because they've heard of all these bankruptcies and premature deaths and suffering in the United States. Even the U.S. allies and vassals like Europeans and Canadians and Australians who don't have the U.S. system, they don't want to adopt it. Anyway, but long story short, you either nationalize that, and for other things that you don't need, if you can't do, if it's hard to do something on a nationalized basis, like games and that kind of thing, games and technology and things that are new and are very like moving targets are difficult. They're like new innovation, creative. They require a lot of imagination and are not easily structured in a regularized way, like energy, healthcare, housing in a lot of places, transportation. A lot of these are nationalized in many places because it's a better, more efficient, fairer, and ultimately better outcomes for everybody way of running a system. Anyway, so but if you're going to have a corporation or a company that's not nationalized, then it should be a cooperative, because then it ensures that the decisions are made for the benefit of all the workers, that the workers are treated fairly, and that the things that they're doing, it almost kind of the fact that you have average people working. I mean, generally, you're not going to have 25 sociopaths or psychopaths like Gordon Gekko's all doing programming, art, and design. It's just highly improbable, because right, most people are not like that, right? Well, the United States as a whole is the imperial colonial system. It filters the worst to the top, both in their government, in their international foreign policy, and also in the military, and also inside of their corporations. Right? You have the worst CEOs and you have the worst officials that are dealing this horrible death to everyone around the world for empire, the highest stage of capitalism. So anyways, so if we had worker cooperatives, that would help a lot. If there was just as an example, if UHC was a worker cooperative, right? then this wouldn't have happened because the Brian Thompson, the CEO, wouldn't exist, right? There would be no incentive to make as much money as possible harming people. If the doctors and nurses, as another example, right? If doctors and nurses and healthcare people that actually work in healthcare made decisions, they're not going to decide to deny all their patients that need critical treatments the care, right? The average doctor and nurse, average doctor and nurse is not pursuing maximum profit over people's lives. You can see that. We know that because the average doctors and nurses have been, like I already pointed out, they have been saying these healthcare companies we hate them. We like working as surgeons and radiologists. We like working as nurses. We like caring for people. We like taking care of people who are sick, treating people who have the flu, giving people their critical surgeries and chemotherapy. We like to help people. We hate the insurance companies because they're stopping us from doing the work that we need to do. So, right, as another example, if you had hospitals and these health centers were run by the health staff, they're not going to decide to deny people critical cancer medication. They're not going to decide to deny someone a what should be a cheap, short surgery and make it inflate the cost like 100 times, right? And then either force people to pay or deny them care, because the nurses and doctors will be like, "Oh, that's ridiculous." As long as we're getting enough, as long as we're getting enough money for us to pay our bills, right? Then we will treat, that's fine. We don't need this Tylenol to cost $200. We don't need the ambulance ride to cost multiple thousands of dollars. We don't need this insulin to cost $400, which it did, right? We don't need this cancer med to cost $1,000 a month. That's ridiculous, and it's not that cost in other countries, right? That's how many countries do. Just make sure that there is no capitalist profit seeking that is parasitical, that is not producing anything, that is sucking money out, giving it to people the money that they don't need it, that's jacking up the prices and interfering with the doctors and healthcare professionals' ability to do their jobs. If it was corporatized, there wouldn't have been that problem, because all those perverse incentives would be gone, or nationalized, or whatever. There's many different ways to set this up. Many other countries have other ways of setting it up. Anyway, so I just wanted to point that out. That's another, because people are saying, well, we have to do healthcare this way, right? There's many arguments. American healthcare is the best because competition creates the best healthcare in the world. That's why America has the best healthcare system in the world. It doesn't. It just doesn't. If you're super rich, you can afford some of the latest fancy technology. That's actually false, because China has better technology. Now they actually have cured cancer, diabetes, and deafness, among other things. And they created a treatment for Alzheimer's. So that's actually false. And that's a communist country with a communist party, right? Again, going back to the Chinese celebrating the communist, Revolutionary Communist Party of America marching through the streets with a hammer and sickle. So that's actually false. I mean, maybe it was true at one point in the 90s. In the 90s, if you were extremely wealthy, you can afford the latest technology. You can have like the most advanced high-tech, nanotech cancer treatment if you were a millionaire. But if you weren't, the U.S. is the worst place to seek out healthcare, and many people refuse to do that. Millions of people have already died refusing to take an ambulance because they can't afford it. That's actually one of the plot points in Neofeud too. It's like a Western American like person. It's not really America, but it's like someone who's like in the future America is like, no, don't come to the hospital. I can't afford it. And then they go to like a socialist country, and they're like, all healthcare is free, including the hospital ambulance ride. And then the guy like blacks out and he passes out. It's like, no, it's not possible. He has like a phase of mass denial. That it's not possible to have free healthcare. Anyways, it's 1:24, time to go. So, but yeah, so let me wrap this up. Where's my little? Okay, let's go to this little thread. Yeah. So what else happened? So when the UHC shooter took his action, things changed. Like actual policies changed. Like things got done. The people have spoken. The masses of the people of the United States Right? If it was a democracy, they have all the guy would get off scot free. Actually, if you look at what people are saying, I've seen so many people saying, if you saw the UHC shooter, no, you didn't. I saw somebody say, even if I was guaranteed $1 million and universal health care for life, if I had free health care for life in order to turn in the UHC shooter, I would absolutely not. That's more than one person has said something like that. Here is the NYPD's 10K reward. I have never seen this woman in my life. Did the police file a claim first? If you recognize the guy, no, you didn't. Photo didn't know, not part of my coverage network. I do not recall. I'm not in network. I'm not in network to be seeing him. No one has seen this man. Not like NYPD, but let's come to the police now. Not like NYPD solves crimes anyways. They're too busy beating up protesters, strikers, and throwing people out their homes for landlords. A follow up to that one, I call it the UHC shooter. Again, the NYPD put out these 3 separate pictures, right? NYPD photos shooter. There were like 3 separate, like this is one of them. I don't know if you can see this, but one of the pictures, like he's wearing this white backpack. One of them, he's wearing a totally different hoodie with pockets in the front. It's absolutely a different hoodie. It's even a different color. Also everybody's saying like, there's like all these thirst traps. People are like, I am ovulating now because of the UHC shooter. I need to make babies. I need to date this guy. Where is this guy? I have come out of dating retirement. Where is the UHC shooter? Somebody said like, is the solution to male is the solution to male loneliness, taking a bike with a silencer down Manhattan and finding CEOs like that. That was like an article somewhere. I swear I don't remember where. But anyways, the UHC shooter easily got away from so the NYPD they claimed let me see. What was the article? Yeah. NYPD claimed that they were going to get the shooter despite showing 3 separate, completely bogus. There's no way that could be the correct photo because there's all 3 separate, completely separate, different pictures of different people with clearly different clothing. So that was just NYPD pretending like they're solving crimes. They're not. Also, United Healthcare, right? Used AI and got a 90% error rate. Where was that one? I had a link to that. God damn it. I'm going too fast. But yeah. Brian Thompson. I just turned on my turn on my Twitter and then it's instantly there. Let me see. Somebody said that actually like Americans are the happiest they have ever been. Like social media is like the happiest they've been, right? It's like this is the cure for American sadness and social media. Not social media. The cure for the disgruntledness is a CEO's public execution. Because it's not, it's not like the most horrible news, that's what everybody, like, that's not me saying, that's just like the average milieu. That's like the zeitgeist, is like, I am feeling mentally so much better. Some people said like, oh no, NYPD, we need NYPD in the streets. New Yorkers are saying, I feel the safest I have ever felt, now that this, the CEO just got whacked, has been publicly shot. I feel the safest that I have ever felt, in New York. What? Because now, it's the rich that are worried for their life, not me, right? There are people out there that are fighting for me, right? The cops didn't make anybody safe, right? You hear this a lot, right? A lot of people, from U.S. left, Black Lives Matter. It was like, cops don't keep us safe, we keep us safe, right? But but now that's really coming. I mean, that should also be part of the story, which is that police don't stop these crimes. The police, what did they do? Mostly beating up people. They're beating up people trying to stop the Middle East atrocities. For having kafia, for waving a particular flag, they're getting mass assaulted, beating up, right? The police are doing the bidding of the capitalist rulers that pay their salaries. Jamie Dimon of JP Morgan, speaking of New York, he gave $4 million to NYPD. I was doing Occupy to make sure that the police beat up and broke as many legs as possible of Occupy protesters in Zuccotti Park in New York. That's who they work for. That was just like one person giving, one rich guy, CEO of one of the biggest banks in the United States. You just gave a bunch of money, and then the cops followed through. The American police followed through. They beat up a whole bunch. They swept them. Obama was behind that. He ordered 60 states occupies to get. That's who they work for. They don't solve crime. They don't solve crime. This average U.S. cop statistically solves less than one felony per year. The U.S. police burgle and steal from the citizens of the United States more in total value than all the burglars, all the Grand Theft Auto, all the thieves, all of the robbing of stores. You put all of that together, the U.S. police take more from people just taking it from their pocket, just taking it from their homes, just impounding. U.S. police steal more. They commit more total killing than the average person, and almost none of them are justified. They don't solve any actual crimes. They're not crime. That's what propaganda is for. That's what all the NYPD, Blue LAPD shows. They got the funny ones with the Brooklyn Nine-Nine, right? The average American show is a cop show, but that's all propaganda to suggest that what they're doing is solving crimes. That's not what they're doing. They're not solving crimes, and they're not gonna solve this. They're not gonna find who shot Ryan Johnson. They've even admitted it, right? Cops are the knights. Under the feudal system, they were called knights. Under the so-called capitalist democratic system, they're called cops. They do the bidding of their masters, the lords or the wealthy. And also, they got a 90% error rate. Let me see if I can find that. Before I go too far off. Yeah, Ryan Thompson approved the denial rate of UHC. Their shitty AI had a denial rate of 90%. That got through. He was part of that process of making sure that went through. And the 90%. It was knowing, they knew, right, that the AI was denying 90% of the claims. And they knew that it was erroneous. And they just let it keep on, right? Generative AI is its own. I've done many streams about that. You can go watch some of them. But generative AI itself is just a plagiarism software, stochastic parrot, multi-trillion-dollar waste of resources for making artists and creators and people and anyone doing any kind of labor poorer, giving more control to rich people to pretend like they did more work than they actually did, and wastes electricity and water, and it's using as much power as all of Germany and counting. And not only that, it's knowingly giving these horrible error rates, and then they use this already horrible error rate in order to deny more people. So plagiarism, generative AI is not just plagiarism software; it's also a black box accountability black hole, right? So instead of the CEO pulling the trigger, they can just say, "Well, I didn't deny the claim; the AI did it," right? So this is trying to remove from the decision loop the humans, malicious humans that are making tons of money killing people, but then saying, "Oh, it wasn't my fault." That's part of it's part of one of the reasons they use it, is so that they can say. Also, they're co-invested in AI companies who are making billions of dollars just for pumping out AI with OpenAI, Sam Altman, and all of these horrible big techs, also capitalist corporations. And so, but yeah, that's a whole other piece of that. And so, and the AI was giving a 90% error rate, and then NYPD was saying their artificial intelligence is going to play a big role in nailing the ID of the gunman and his mask. And so the mask didn't totally cover his face. But we already know that AI has this horrible, horrible error rate. right? And they have like just a small portion of it. So it's the AI, right? The AI, if you auto generate that face from that, you could generate, some people point out it could have been Elon Musk according to certain AI, right? The AI does not generate. It's not going to give you accurate data. AI does pattern recognition. It's not. It generates a new token, a new word or picture based upon all the previous inputs. What is the most likely next output? It is a next word guesser. That's all it's doing. And then you can't use that to identify somebody. You can't use that to identify somebody based on some little bit of, the nose and the eyes. It's not possible, right? Even if you wanted to, right? So, but the fact that NYPD were saying, oh, we're going to use AI, but all it does is say that NYPD is incompetent and is not going to solve anything. That says that they want to make more money, making sure that giant AI tech companies that all support ISRAEL2 make more money. They're going to help AI companies look good so they can get more investor money to do nothing good but burn the planet and destroy everything and make people stupider because they spend all their time using AI rather than using their brains for intellectual and creative endeavors, making themselves smaller, lesser people with less total life and less total ability to create and to produce and less living. So, and also they're going to get it wrong. Even if they generated a face, right? It's going to guarantee be wrong. Anyway, so, but that's the AI thing. You can, and so how is that all how that has all panned out is that where's the so the USA shooter got away from the multi-billion-dollar. Also, NYPD spends $6 billion a year. NYPD, if it was New York Police Department, if it was a military, it would be the third largest military in the world after the United States military and Chinese military. That's how massively overspent the NYPD is. U.S. cops, and they're too busy being, as I said, too busy beating up on innocents, like the GENOCIDAL Isn't Real that trains them. They train with Isn't Real's military that's doing the mass unaliving and torturing of children and innocent people, right? So that's why they do that to people. They don't. The NYPD, they're good at, right? The U.S. police recently just shot like a 2-year-old. A mother was holding a 2-year-old. They shot the 2-year-old and then they shot the mother, right? But that's because they're not there to protect people. They're there to do mass killing and mass beating and mass brutality and terror against citizens of the United States, which they regard as like lesser than Team Blue, right? The thin blue line. But it's kind of like that's the way that the U.S. little puppet in the Middle East regards everyone that isn't God's chosen people, right? That has the right to defend itself. And again, they directly train NYPD, LAPD, all the major U.S. police departments, and then they also work together with the smaller police departments. They all train under child killers. Not crime solvers. They don't solve crime. Not detectives. They don't detect anything. The NYPD couldn't detect a golf ball up their nose. NYPD was assured, and then United Healthcare has left New York City. So yeah, I called it. They completely failed. He's gone. They believe he's gone. They're not going to find anyone. They're not going to solve anything. All the tax dollars is completely wasted. And it's less than wasted. All your tax dollars do is pay the people that are going to beat you up for not having enough money to pay your tyrannical corporate lord, your landlord. Not your corporate, all of them, right? And if your corporate, what your tax dollar, all it's going to do is pay the corporate lord that's going to beat your butt when you go on the picket line. So, yeah. Anyway. UK government didn't get the memo that life expectancies of rich horrible people are dropping. Right on the same day, UK government offered cash bonuses to families who euthanize their elderly relatives. This is the same kind of on par. This is like part of a slew of these articles about like we don't need all of these disabled people around. Elderly people, autistic people, people on the spectrum, neurodivergent people, disabled people, people that can't walk. If you can't work, you should die is basically the message. And here, have a bunch of money to get rid of your grandparents. Get rid of your mom and dad. Get rid of your mom and dad. They're a burden on society. This is eugenics. This is just fascistic, aka colonial stuff. This is Malthusian, and so UK government should watch out. US government also should watch out because they're all on the take with the healthcare companies. Watch out what you say. I would suggest for your own life expectancy of UK government. It's just that's not a threat. I'm just saying like that these kind of things are why people are unaliving wealthy horrible people like all the UK government. LMAO, the United Healthcare used AI and got a 90% error rate. I already did that one. You can only live. Yeah. United Healthcare has United America. This is the footage of all the lookalike contests. Good job to everybody. Anything else I want to say before I go? So happy communist revolution in the United States. There's one more thing. Oh yeah. The United States has recently passed a bill. What was it? I posted it on my Twitter. That's what it is. The U.S. has recently passed a bill that says that overwhelmingly passed a bill to create a model national civic education curriculum for high school students on evils of communism and how it and totalitarianism conflict with the principles of freedom and democracy essential to the founding of the United States. So that is the liberal capitalist thing I just talked about, right? It's like that is the horseshoe theory of the liberal capitalist ruling classes concoction post French Revolution and certainly post capitalist and fascist versus communist, which is what World War II was actually about. And so why are they passing this now? There's a lot of questions, right? But one of the reasons why they're passing it now because they are worried for their heads, well, as they should be, right? Because they're all complicit with the United Healthcare CEO, all of the U.S. government that all works for the billionaire class. It's a plutocracy, as I pointed out on previous streams, right? As Gillen's a page, multiple Ivy League studies have pointed out. Money decides what happens in the United States government, not votes, not mass popular opinion, right? And so the rich are very worried, right? What will happen? So now they're passing this bill that says that everyone will be indoctrinated. Everyone will be taught that communism is evil. Victims of Communism Foundation will be leading that, by the way. That's I don't have time to go into that entity specifically, but there's much to be said about that specific organization in DC. Guess who do you think is the number one victim of communism, by the way? Let's take a wild guess. Okay, I'll give you a hint. It starts with N and it ends with an I, and there might be a Z in there somewhere. Okay, and there might be people start with an F, and it rhymes with Cassius. Who is the victims of communism? But it was capitalism, obviously, as which works directly with the fist of capitalism is the fascism. So, and so a couple of things. So one of these things is that they're passed a bill, right? It shows you that the United States is a anti-communist. A couple of years ago, the U.S. passed a bill that said that United States is against socialism. And now they're saying we must have anti-communist education formally in all our schools. The reality is, from our perspective, I was a native Hawaiian, and I don't have time to talk about that part, but U.S. has done liberal capitalist indoctrination for as long as it has had public education, which is part of why it's still the waning capital, but it's still the capitalist anti-communist superpower on the earth. That's what the Cold War was about. Soviet communist, American capitalist. This just accelerates the brainwashing and part of why we homeschool here at Silver Spoon Cooperative. And there's also, of course, school shootings and all the colonial nonsense and just the conditioning is propaganda and lies around what the U.S. is, and that what it doesn't teach you is as important as what it does say. So this just reinforces this is why we do the education that we do here, and also through streams and social media, and in the games you learn things when you're playing Silver Spoon games. Everything is political, and ours are anti-capitalist left games. I don't pretend like they're not. even if I don't say that directly on the Steam page, but because everything is political and you always are learning something, even when you're being pushed in one direction or another, whether you think you are doing it or not. And anyway, so that's why we have to keep doing this education, because the U.S. school system, that's also why we homeschool, is particularly because U.S. school system, even before this bill, was already, conditioning. That's why it's, if the United States was educating people, they would know how horrible the capitalist system already was, right? They would know why their healthcare decisions were so bad. But people are not properly educated on this actual history. Right? The evil of capitalism is why unanimously people are shouting out the UHC shooter. It's because it's not the communist system that's evil, it's the capitalist system that's evil. So if the school system is formally going to insert this into the curriculum, that all that's going to do is increase the intensity of the brainwashing, right? It's going to increase the warping of the minds of young people, which it's already been doing. It's already been doing that. Like I said, it's just gonna formally put another turbocharge on that. And so, but yeah, so when people say, oh, homeschooling, that's like for far right wing. No, most homeschoolers are left of the mainstream. Most homeschoolers are black, brown, indigenous, not white, left leaning. There are some that are right, like, fundamentalist Christian, whatever, but that's actually a minority. It's a small percentage of the homeschoolers. And not everybody has the resources, and that's a long talk to have about that, blah, 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 blah. But I just want to point out that, like, that is part of why, like, why hasn't there been already? Why is the U.S. still a capitalist system? Why hasn't it had a mass change sooner? In part, is because of that education system. It makes sure the next generation is constructed, right? They are, kill the Indian, save the man at residential schools as part of the erasing Native American culture and making them into American white people, right? But similarly, you can make every generation of future American capitalists is made in school, liberal capitalists or conservative capitalists, either way. It amounts to ultimately the same thing, with slightly better or worse results depending on where you come from. But that has to be done in the school system. That's not the only place people learn things, but that you spend 8 hours in those rooms, reifying and building your mind, your consciousness, right? People talk about class consciousness. Well, your consciousness, class consciousness, historical consciousness, it's all built. Critical parts of that is all built in school. You can when your kids come home, you can also educate again at home and try to. But that's like a lot of extra effort that you have to do as a parent if you want to also do. If you want your child to have that correct economic and historical education, it's another layer of work, and you have to fight against 6 hours potentially, at least 4 hours, because some of this math is not that not that much is happening politically with the math, but you're gonna have to deal with many hours of social studies, English. I had to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I had to love America and its liberal capitalist so-called democracy. You have to. There's so much wrong stuff. Just reading Western books of any kind, certainly U.S. books, you have to just breeze by all these mentions of and the horrible things done in this Middle Eastern country, this African leader. And then what are we? A bunch of Russian? The way that things are just described and written about in conservative or liberal U.S. any kind of writing, it is all pro-capitalist, all pro-liberal, even if it's not explicitly acknowledged. It's a lot of it's it can be pink-washed, it can even be red-washed, it can be written in quote-unquote decolonial terms, but when it really comes down to it, they don't describe what I'm talking about. They don't talk about the foreign policy of the U.S., which is part of the capitalist system, and that's all of that is as important as everybody know, because the thing is, the capitalist brainwashing is not that there's some inequality in the United States. Everybody knows that. That's not a mystery. Everybody knows that. Right? The brainwashing is like, this is a pretty good, this is not the best system. Yes, there's some errors, but if we just vote Bernie, or if we just, Just write a letter to your senator. If we just this and that, or some people made some mistakes. That is the brainwashing. That is the brainwash. The capitalist brainwashing is, we got a bill on Capitol Hill, and here's the president, and yeah, it's imperfect, but this or that party made some mistakes. That is the brainwashing. That it's more sinister than just you must love the capital. That's not how it works, right? The brainwashing is the everything, just as vaguely around. That is what it is. The actual education, it comes from, actually, it's going to upset a lot of people a lot of the time, right? The actual education is going to make you feel uncomfortable. That's why they ban critical race theory, talking about real conversations about race, critical decolonization, real indigenous perspectives, and a lot of actual and current events. They want to stop that. Talking about the Cold War in real ways, especially the new Cold War that's currently happening, right? Talking, you're a Russian or Chinese agent if you say anything that contradicts, right, the U.S.'s foreign policy, military interventions, and et cetera, et cetera. And that's where the real brainwashing is really happening. It's not in just it's not like somebody comes out, right? That's why Star Wars is not a great metaphor, because that's not how empires don't look like. Emperor Palpatine threatening people with lightning if they don't march and kill people. That's not like Darth Vader choking people to death. Empires look like the United States of America. They have 57 flavors of ketchup, McDonald's. Some of them wear tie-dye and they have hippie clothes. Some of them play video games a lot, and some people go to church a lot. They're all in the empire. Empires are diverse. They're rainbow, pink-washed, diverse empires. That's what they are now. And that's part of the brainwashing, that we're better because we have a rainbow flag and women in the Lockheed Martin trigger pulling position. That doesn't make you not be empire. Oh, well, we have some women CEOs. That doesn't make you not be a horrible capitalist. That's not going to be an improvement. Oh, we can muddle our way through with Bernie's Democrat socialism. No, you're not going to muddle your way through. People are going to be unalived, and then the policies will change eventually in a video game, probably. In Minecraft, the ruling class will suddenly value their life, and then they'll play Minecraft differently. Anyways, time to go. So, so education is very important, though. In all seriousness, it is very important, and that's why if you want to support us here at the Silver Spoon Cooperative, shout out again to all of the people of the United States who are have spoken. I'm not saying I'm not celebrating anybody's death. I'm not celebrating anybody's death. I'm celebrating the United States, celebrating the death of their chief executive officer of UHC. That's their decision. That's not my decision. I cannot. As a pro-democracy supporter, as a Hawaiian pro-democracy supporter, I cannot go against the will of the people of the United States that celebrate the UHC's executive's death and applaud the unaliver. Anyways, you can also support us at Silver Spook Patreon. To help us keep doing this work, anti-capitalist decolonial work, obviously, and get updates on the Silver Spook Cooperative. This is part of the Silver Spook Cooperative, as I was talking about, is also doing Silver Spook food harvesting and food growing. We just got a bunch of oranges and sweet potatoes that we can feed ourselves and the people with, and also do it with the native Hawaiian style of agriculture as best as we possibly can, rather than just having for-profit curbside appeal lawns. And also we're doing working on books. This is actually a book cover I recently painted. I'm done with Neofeud 2's art. Neofeud 2 is my anti-capitalist cyberpunk game sequel to Neofeud 1, and I'm always working on editing the entire game, finalizing the script, and I gotta go real fast. So let me just wrap that up. And also I did an Indigenous Thanksgiving panel with our fellow Cherokee, Mi'kmaq, and other Native people this past Thanksgiving, and looking forward to doing. I'm going to try to do some more this coming month, but we'll see. You can also support us at ko-fi.com/silverspook. Give us a one-time donation. You can give us thanks a lot for dropping in, Grant. Give us a one-time donation at ko-fi.com/silverspook. And you can also help us out by grabbing Neofeud at Steam. It is on sale right now. It is on sale until December 18th. And it is also, again, as an anti-capitalist, anti-racist, and Anti-CEO game about a cyborg social worker for homeless robots. As I said, a underpaid social worker, a homeless robots, underclass people, and a class trader stopping billionaire CEOs from destroying everything. So it's very much what I think the UHC shooter would approve of this, as a very popular person. So Neofeud is also a game that is, you have a second to leave, even a very short review, is massively appreciated because it does help us get the game discovered in the Steam algorithm. You can also get Neofeud on itch.io for Windows and for Mac and for Linux. Over here, Neofeud can be gotten here along with other games and in the Silver Spook bundle. You can also get it with, you can get Decolonators. Decolonators is about advanced UHC shooter, right? This is called kicking capitalist colonizer butt out of your entire country with fully automatic guns, no silencer, right? It's called the Vietnam War. And of course, you can also help us out with the, Silver Spook, other games. And of course, Woman is a book that Holly has written about being raised in right-wing evangelical Protestant Christianity. And it's a story of Mary within the Bible, critiquing that right-wing conservative Christian culture. Also, you can follow at Silver Spook Games at mastodon.social and or at Silver Spook Games at octodon.social. You can have at Silver Spook Games at Silver Spook Games at wandering.shop and or at Silver Spook Games at mastodon.social on Mastodon. You can also follow on Twitter at Silver Spook Guy, and or you can follow Silver Spook at Silver Spook Guy, and or you can follow Silver Spook Games minus the E in silver for the games related stuff. We also have you can also follow Terminus C. Terminus Cyberstar is a cyberpunk RPG. I'm the content director and the lead writer for. We also have Blue Sky. I actually have two Blue Sky accounts. One of them is silverspookgames.bsky.social, and the other one is silverspookguy.bsky.social. Again, which many people are also there, so you can go there as well. Also, you can follow Holly at Allergic to Blue. Married to myself, parent of two, linebacker for Hawaii, MECFS Haver, and of course, Mask Up because it supports our friends over there in GAZA and everyone here. Speaking of health, to not get ongoing pandemics, including H5N1 that is exploding at the same time as the other one keeps going. So yes, thank you very much to everybody who has listened and watched. Thanks everybody. Thanks to our Patreon patrons for your ongoing support, massively appreciated. Without it, it's hard for us to keep doing this work that you have that we try our best to do. We will be back later on today for the Twitch stream. Come hang out. Maybe I was thinking about making a UHC United Healthcare shooter mod for Half-Life or Doom, and you just run around and you dispense justice to people who have unalived thousands of people. But we'll see what happens. So have a good time.